Hello and welcome to the year of being 70. This is our 40th episode, can you believe? Amazing. It's an anniversary of sorts. So, so I'm here, Lucy Macara in the UK with my lifelong friend Lisette Schoutemaker, who is in Amsterdam. And we have been talking weekly about our lives at 70 for, well, obviously the last 40 weeks. So maybe a gap over Christmas, but yes, we've kept at it,
We've
haven't we?
been very faithful.
We
And
have.
it's been interesting. At least it's been interesting to us.
Yes, exactly. Even if nobody else has listened, or although they have, it's really interesting how many views. I'm surprised at how many views we get on YouTube and other places. So, I hope it's interesting to other people as well as us. But anyway, here we go again. So what are we going to talk about this week, Lisette? You set the agenda.
Well, I said to you, Jenna, because I thought if people not only listen, but also watch, they might see this huge, big dot on my nose, which is from a treatment of, places on my body that have damage from the sun. And that could develop into skin cancer. So I was treated, and it's like I'm in a meeting later today, and I go like, "Oh, I must say something." People will just look at my nose with this huge dot on it.
It probably doesn't sit. I mean, I guess I would have noticed it, but it doesn't look like anything extraordinary. It's probably much more noticeable to you. You feel it more than
Well, maybe it is, but it's like, yeah, I don't want people like cross-eyed at me. But I thought, they're in this decade that we're in. But also around us already, of course, there's people with ailments, and I now have this. But I also last week or 2 weeks ago saw flashes of light in my eye, and I went to the GP, to my doctor. He said, "Oh, you need to go to hospital immediately." And I went to the eye specialist, and they said, "Oh, you need a laser treatment immediately." And so right there and then I got a laser treatment. And then yesterday I went to hospital, and I walked there because they said, "Well, don't bike, don't play tennis, don't stand on your head in yoga, keep calm, keep
right,
calm." And
right.
that's a very mysterious instruction, actually. But I'll get back to that. So
Yeah.
I walked to the hospital, which turned out to be a 20-minute walk, not far at all. And I was really going in thinking this man would say, "Wow, this is healed really well. Wonderful. You've kept calm and been quiet. Very, very good." But instead, he said, "Oh, it's actually quite a big tear in your retina, and it hasn't healed particularly well. And there's a little tear alongside it. So you will have to be lasered again. And I'll see you in 10 days' time." And I was going on a holiday. So I'm not going on a holiday. I'm going to the hospital.
Oh, Lisette, that's yes, that's horrible. I suppose really we have been pretty relentlessly upbeat about aging and being 70, and we've talked about all the good things over the weeks about the aging process and what we've achieved, and how happy we feel at 70.
Yes, and how we're still with it.
Yes. But I no, we have to be honest. I mean, obviously, our bodies are not immune to the aging process, no matter how good we feel and how positive and energetic and busy we are. That we have to be absolutely honest that we are aging at 70. That is quite an old age, so we can
Yeah.
only expect physically, mostly things to be sort of slowly declining, and the odd thing like you've just experienced, like a sudden problem
Yeah.
arises. Do you think your eye age related? Could it have happened at any age, or is
It
it?
is age related. This is my first age related complaint. My
Right.
first age related, because he said the eye is actually a miracle. It's a miracle. And there's kind of this jelly like substance. I kind of think of it as an egg yolk kind of thing.
Yeah.
And with age, it shrinks. And where it is attached to the retina, it kind of takes the retina along.
Right.
And because I'm nearsighted, also, I have learned those of us who are nearsighted, our retina is thinner and so more prone to this because, and it's not kind of an extra disadvantage. I mean, we are nearsighted, I think, because our retina isn't
Oh,
fully
I see.
formed.
It's that way round, right? Yes.
But our retina has, I mean, it's an amazing thing. It has like these millions of rods and cones through which we interpret what we see. It's a miracle. And he showed it as a piece of wallpaper. It's like wallpaper. And he took this little piece of paper and he kind of made a tear in it and said, you know, it is like that. And now there's a little one like that. So yeah.
So what is
Yeah.
what are the symptoms of that? I mean, what
Yeah.
is that
Yeah. So how did I find out?
yeah,
It was
how did you
because
find
I
out?
saw a lot of kind of the mouche volante, they call it in French. We speak, I don't know why it's in French, but it's like these flies, these black
Right.
spots that kind of travel when you move your eye, they travel along. But also there was like light at the end, at the corner of my sight. And I actually have a friend whose retina um, came loose. And he said he was in he was watching a movie. He was in a cinema and he had all these light flashes and he thought, wow, this is special effects in this film. And then it turned out his retina had come loose.
Oh wow. Yes, I think
Yeah.
my mother had that with cataracts once. She was saying she was outside in at night and she was looking at the moon and saying, "My goodness, the moon has got these amazing rings, coloured rings around it tonight." And whoever she was with said, "No, it doesn't. I think you've got cataracts."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we do get things. I so remember a friend of mine who has actually passed like 10 years ago, maybe, and he got cancer. And one of his observations was, you know, it doesn't only happen to the neighbors.
No,
It
no.
doesn't only happen elsewhere. It also happens to us. So this is now something that has happened to me. And it has, you know, yesterday I felt quite shaken in the
Yes.
confidence in my body, also because I don't feel anything. You know, the retina is not sensitive, so I don't
It
feel.
doesn't hurt at all.
It doesn't hurt at all. So how about you, Lucy? What have you got?
So, oh gosh, well, really, if I think about it, loads of things. I actually think that one of the pleasures of old age actually is kind of swapping symptoms and illnesses with other people.
Yeah.
It's quite boring for other people, but I find myself falling into that. Oh yes, I've got that too, and I've got this, and have you got that kind of
So tell
scenario
me.
occasionally. But well, I mean, let's go back to eyesight. So my eyesight. I mean, you've always worn glasses, but I had
Since
perfect.
age 10. Yeah.
Yes. But I had perfect vision all my life, and I kind of thought lots of things really that everything that the things that I had when I was young would always be there. But I suppose
Yeah.
when I was early 40s, I started not being able to read what it was newspapers. I particularly noticed because of the small print in those days. I was holding stuff away, so I ended up getting reading glasses, and then I sort of needed glasses for everything. I mean, my sight is terrible now. Really, there's no short, medium, or long sight that I can see clearly without glasses. I mean, I feel lucky
But
because
you're not wearing any,
I'm wearing
I
contact.
notice.
I wear contact lenses all the time.
Oh, you wear contact lenses.
So and they're very focal. So I guess my
Yeah.
sight is not perfect at any distance, but um,
Yeah.
I don't really. I mean, I do wear glasses as well. I tend to try to give my eyes a rest at the weekend, and so I have very focal
Yeah.
glasses, which some people can't wear because it makes them feel.
No, Jos tried even very focal glasses and just fell off his bike.
Oh
His eyes
God,
could not adjust.
that's awful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
But that to us who have had, you know, glasses since age
yeah.
10, you go like, wow,
Well,
okay,
yeah.
that's a nuisance. But
Yes, but it was one of those things that sort of, shocked me when it
yeah,
happened because I wasn't
yeah,
expecting
that's true.
it was, and
I
I
think
suppose,
that's true. We kind of count on our bodies
yeah,
when we've been fortunate, you know, to be fit and healthy.
yes,
And I was in such an interesting conversation. We had a lunch on the occasion of my niece's 37th birthday, and I was sat across from her brother's partner, and she's 30. and she had this whole theory about, you can stay healthy and about the blue zones where people live to 100
Oh,
because
yeah.
they're fit and they eat well and and I thought, well, so I said, well, you can't, things will happen. No, 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 you can stay fit and healthy. And I thought, she just wants our generation to stay fit and
Yeah.
healthy.
So
She wants
how old is she?
herself 30.
Oh, she said, oh, well, I think that's yes, that's the sort of optimism of youth, I would say.
Absolutely.
She hasn't actually come up against any
Yeah.
of it yet. And yes,
But
I'm
I hadn't so much either.
no,
I've had a herniated disc that was like 30 years ago, but that's fine. And now feels like, well, this is kind of a harbinger. How do you say that?
yeah.
Harbinger. I don't know where these words come from in me. Harbinger of
But
like
you know
old
it as
age,
well.
this flag, Lisette, is going to happen to you too.
Yeah, but
Is that all you have? You're
no,
on.
no, 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 it's not all I have. I mean, my
We're really coming clean here.
yes, I'll be really on. Most of my sort of physical I mean, I wouldn't even call them ailments really, but started with menopause. I mean, that was, and I didn't realize what was happening. I was having an early menopause. I only know this because I was trying to get pregnant in my early 40s, and I wasn't, and then it turned out that I was having an early menopause. But what happened was around that time, my hips started to really ache. We just acquired two dogs, and I noticed on walking, and I'd never felt anything like this today. My hips ached and my ankles ached, and I was starting to get backache. And I didn't realize that this was a menopausal thing. It was kind of estrogen draining away. And I did go on HRT. I mean, actually, I'm still on
What
it.
is HRT? I don't know
Oh,
what that is.
sorry, hormone replacement therapy.
Okay.
But it did help lots of things like the hot flushes and sort of going bright red and things like that, and quite a lot of other things. But it didn't take away this joint ache, and that just, I mean, that went on getting worse and worse, and it got worse, I guess. I'm willing to admit it. It got worse because I put on weight as well. And I mean, that was part of the menopausal thing too. I didn't suddenly start eating loads more food or stop exercising. I just held on to weight more. And that sort of eventually caused, I don't know, I mean, it was inflammation basically, or whether it was, I don't know whether the inflammation was separate to the weight, but I've been
Yeah.
going to an osteopath for many years, and she's been getting more and more sort of, you can see the look on her face. Oh dear, this is not good kind of stuff. And then, as everybody knows, as you know, I went on Manjaro, the weight loss drug, a year ago, and I have lost 30 kilos, 4 stone nearly.
Wow.
And what's happened is a lot of that pain has gone away. The inflammation has gone away. I mean, I was on it for about 2 months, and I went back to my osteopath, and I really hadn't lost a massive amount of weight at that point at all. But she said, okay, you don't need to come back. I mean, she's very pro, she keeps up with all the kind of latest, sort of treatments and things in the kind of medical and non-medical world, if you like. And I was surprised to find that she was very positive about weight loss drugs, but they're not just weight loss drugs; they do other stuff as well. And she said, "Look, okay, I don't think come back to me if you."
They do other stuff as
Yeah,
well. So you
well,
inject yourself? Is that
yes,
the thing?
yes, you inject
Okay.
yourself. Well, I inject myself once a week with a
Yeah.
little.
Are you still doing it?
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of like an EpiPen, I think. It comes in a little pen, and you get 4 weeks worth of injections in one pen. And yes, so they were originally developed for diabetes because they change your relationship to insulin. They're incredibly effective for people with diabetes. And then it became clear that the people who were diabetic and using them were also able to lose weight.
Yeah.
So then they got whatever the word is.
Yeah. Then the side effect became the product.
It became the product. Yes, exactly.
Or the product for more than those who suffer from diabetes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, indeed. But they also are. I mean, the continuing kind of research on them. They do help with inflammation in the body generally. So that's been very helpful. And that I don't know. I don't think that was particularly to do with weight, because that came on with menopause too, where I was just a lot stiffer and not sort of in pain. And I've been checked out for arthritis and stuff. And I have little you know places where it's in my ankle a little bit and a little bit here and there, but it's not a major thing. But I have been had this pain and this
Yeah.
sort of stiffness, and it's mostly gone. So
That is so wonderful, Lucy. That is so wonderful
yeah,
because you get, of course, in a way, accustomed to, dysfunctions and
yeah,
pain and stiffness. And then when it comes back at age 70, I would say,
yeah.
how wonderful is that?
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I do have actually quite a lot of hope. I've always held in my head. I've always thought I am probably going to be arthritic, because I am very similar physiologically to my father's mother. We're the same size. We're quite small, same sort of shape. And she was very arthritic at the end of her life. And I mean, she was a pianist, and her hands were all
Oh,
swollen up in the joints, and she found it very difficult to move and to walk, and was probably in a lot of pain. And I've always felt that's probably where I'm heading. And now I
hmm.
feel that actually that there will be inventions, medications, scientific discoveries that will hopefully will at least alleviate that. And so far, I mean, even this is sort of is kind of part of that. So I do have a kind of faith in um, science being able to improve age. I was just thinking this morning, there's been a big thing about Google using AI for search this morning. And they've just, I don't know, you probably haven't seen it, but or perhaps it doesn't. Anyway, I do think AI is going to have a lot of positive medical effects. And I was thinking about my mother and her carers this morning. I was thinking in a hopeful kind of way that maybe by the time I get to her age, should I be lucky enough to live into my 90s, that there will probably be AI carers and AI based, kind of, I don't know, machines or whatever, and
Yeah.
medication that
Yeah,
will,
they'll get us to bed and get us into the bath. And
yes.
you really think so? I would so hope that some things are still people.
Oh yes, no, I agree. I don't want to live just
Yeah.
by machines. But there may be things that make it easier. And I also read somewhere recently that osteoporosis, there is a potential reversal of osteoporosis now, which is one of the main things that causes older people to fall and break
Yeah.
things, and causes
Yeah.
problems. So yes, so
Yeah,
there's
at the same time, there's this problem of us, the baby boomers, becoming
yeah,
a burden on society. So, if we all prolong our life, and
I
then is
know.
that a good thing? Maybe personally it's a good thing, but for society it might be a huge burden.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't.
And do you take pills? Do you take pills
Yes.
against ailments? That's another thing. I've always suspected old people talk about the pills they take. So now here we are. I don't think we're old. We're kind of getting there, but we're entering. I truly feel we're kind of entering the decade where, things will happen to
Yes.
us and to
Yes.
our
No,
friends, to people
I
we
agree.
love. We might lose them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
No, I think at 70 we have to say we're old. I mean, I don't think we can pretend to be middle-aged. I think 70 is. I mean, I don't
I
feel
think
old.
there's
You
not
don't
yet.
feel
I think there's not yet a term for this.
no.
I don't think
It's,
I'm middle aged, but I'm not old yet. Not yet.
no, but will we always feel like that? When we get to 80,
Maybe we do. Maybe we will.
not old. I'm only 80. It's nothing. But yes, I
Yeah.
do. So I mean, I am on HRT. I have been on and off it. I started taking it in my mid 40s.
So there's a hormone thing.
That's
So
oh,
you've been
sorry,
on
that's
it for for 30 years or so,
Yeah,
25 years. Okay.
yes, I have, and I've been off it a few times, and the symptoms, the hot flushes, have not.
I liked the hot flushes. I loved the hot flushes. Really? Well, my menopause has been really easy. I mean, I just didn't really notice it, but for the hot flashes. And I always thought, because I could always trace them back to something.
Like what?
My sense of it is, first we're a maiden. We're this innocent girl. Let's talk about women. And then, through adolescence, now what's it called? When we start, our periods and everything.
Puberty.
Puberty, we become, say, the mother, even if we are not a mother. And we have this monthly cycle of building a nest that is not used and then letting it go with all the tears and all the grief. And my sense is we process a lot of the grief in the world through processing our own grief, which is wow. When I think back of all those years, like a week, a month was iffy.
Yeah,
A little bit before menstruation, then during, and so wow, that's like 20% of our time, 25%, 30% of our time. And then the hot flashes come, and it felt to me it was like lots of remnants of resentment and of were burnt up so I could become the wise woman. And I'm not saying I am a wise woman, although I really, 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 that's my ultimate goal in life, to become wise. That's the
wow,
only thing I ever wanted to be.
you're there, you are wise.
Sometimes, and maybe, and but I think the burning up of all these things, and very often I could trace it back to like an unkind thought or towards another person or towards myself. And I thought, oh, this is now being burnt up in the oven, and I'm becoming a wider and wider channel for life and love and gratitude and maybe even wisdom to flow through.
Wow, that is such a lovely way to look at menopause. I mean, I do think it definitely has its benefits. I mean, not having periods is clearly one of them. Absolutely. I mean, perhaps the main one. But yeah, but that's so interesting. So you actually think hot flushes have an emotional basis as well as, I mean, obviously I mean, I presume you do think they have a physical basis.
Yeah, I think, both. I think one is not separate from the other.
No.
And but very often I thought, oh wow, yeah, yeah, there was that, and now I hope it's gone, and I can be without those kinds of judgments, or, you know, yeah.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I mean, I felt that I had two kinds of hot flushes, and one kind was simply I had no control over it. I mean, I tell you what, one thing that brought them on was alcohol. I just have to have a couple of sips of wine, and I could just feel my face go ping, and I knew that if I looked in the mirror, I would be bright red, and I hated that.
It's
But there
so
were
interesting because I stopped drinking alcohol 22 years ago. So it was on the 18th birthday of my niece, who is now 40. So I can't. So that was 2003. What was it? No, 22 years ago. Yeah, 2003. So I did not drink alcohol. So maybe that's why also, well, I did not
I
notice
think
that
it
at
probably
all.
helps. Yes, I mean, it certainly did with me. It may not be true for other people.
Yeah.
But then there were the hot flushes that just kind of came out of nowhere that were not, didn't seem to have an emotional basis. There were hot flushes that came because I was starting to, in a warm room where it was almost as if, the temperature has hit a certain level and that triggers a hot flush. And but that's a completely, kind of over the top response to the heat,
Yeah.
the external heat. And then there were emotional hot flushes. And the reason I went back for the last time on HRT, the last time sort of, I was on a break from it. I'd been off it for 2 or 3 years, I think. And I started, it was when I was doing my teaching practice, when I was doing my teaching diploma. And I would find that in teaching practice, which I found very stressful, that I would suddenly get a hot flash when I got to a certain probably peak of emotion or worry or stress
Mm.
or something. I would get a hot flash, and I knew that I was going bright red and looking, shiny, sweaty. And I thought, God, really, it looks unprofessional. It looks like I'm out of
Oh,
control.
there you say it. It
Like,
looks unprofessional. It is so strange how I would say in yin and yang, in the yang dominant world, we need to appear to be always, 100% happy, healthy, fit
yeah,
for purpose. And, it is so strange that we have to kind of deny or hide or make go away. Like even now, coming on the podcast and talking about, this is okay. But that I have a tear in my retina is kind of okay. So I am not fully perfect. People will think I'm old, I'm over the hill. Oh, she has ailments now. We better not employ her or ask her anymore because now she's, part of the cohort of. But as women also going through menopause, all of us go through that. It
yeah,
is a very natural thing in the life of a woman. And then still we feel it is like not becoming in a way.
no, exactly. But I suppose when I was teaching classes, I didn't want to look out of control. I mean, I think as a teacher, your students need to feel that you're in control and feel kind of
Oh, interesting. I would say, yeah,
bring a security to them, and that if you start to look uncomfortable and panicky, then they don't trust you so much.
the issue is trust is so interesting because the whole in control thing is something that's completely beyond me. I think trust is based on contact rather than control. And so I think if we were courageous enough to say, there's something happening to me now, which will in due time, dear girls, happen to all of you. And it might be happening to your grandmother or your mother. And this is a very natural thing. And I just need to please bear with me. Would they hoot and howl and leave the room disgusted? Or would they feel, wow, wow, this is a human being that we can actually trust not to hide things from us?
Yes, that's an interesting point of view. I mean, I was teaching adults. Some of them
Yeah.
were disabled, had special needs in some ways. It wasn't really the kind of place I could say to them, "Oh my goodness, I'm having a hot flash. Apologies for the, bear with me." It wasn't that sort of situation. Also, I mean, when you're doing teaching practice, you have the qualified teacher, your supervisor, with you all the time. So that didn't feel good either.
Yeah, no, I mean, I fully agree. In the moment, I would have probably, my inclination would be, how can I cover this up as quickly as possible, as unnoticeable as possible? How can I wipe my upper lip so the drops don't fall, on my teaching material? All of that kind of, yeah, indignities, I would say.
Yes, yes,
So in
exactly.
the moment, I'm sure I would also cover it up, but isn't it strange that we need to?
Yes, yes. No, I completely agree. It shouldn't be something to be judged. It should simply
Well,
be kind of understood, known part of life. But
yeah, and kind of go like, okay, oh, so that's happening to you. Well, I have other things happening to me. We all have things. I think part of what I always when I'm ill, or now when I have this, my empathy for people, also friends, who have much more severe
yes,
ailments and things that are really serious, grows.
yes, indeed. Yeah,
And it's so good when compassion grows because we need compassion for each
yeah,
other in
completely.
this.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
indeed. However, I went back onto HRT and I've been on it ever since.
Yes.
And actually, what I've done is I don't take I mean, I take a minimum. I think there's a name for it, a minimum viable dose or something. I kind of lessened my dose until I found the spot where it stopped working, and the least I could take was where it would continue to work for everything I need. So that's what I've got. And a few years ago, I think she's called my menopause nurse at my doctor's surgery, said, you have to decide. She was trying to sort of get me off it. And I was saying, I don't know, do I have to come off it? And she was saying, well, at this point, you need to decide. You either stay on it for life or you come off it now.
Hmm.
And I said, no, I'm staying on it then. I'm staying on it. I don't feel any side effects. I don't have any, I know there are some risks, but actually it also guards against osteoporosis. It's a positive if you have not had for breast cancer, which there isn't breast cancer in my family, I'm happy to say. Then it's, the risks are minimal.
Yeah,
And I think it actually having more estrogen in your system is actually good for your brain and for other sort of, kind of working parts of you. So I'm quite happy to stay on it till the rest of my life, for the rest of my life now, at this very low dose, and that's it. So
that's it.
that's one of my medications. However, I will tell you, I
Yes.
was
Confess, confess.
on, I have been on for the last couple of years. I have been on, my blood pressure got too high and it just kind of tipped over what's acceptable. And I've been on blood pressure medication and on high cholesterol medication. And since I've lost weight, I asked the doctor, I was taking my blood pressure. I don't know what's happening with the cholesterol because I can't check it myself. But I found that my blood pressure had gone right down to very normal levels. And I said to the doctor, what happened? Shall I stop? I've lost all this weight. My blood pressure when I take it is very normal. Shall I stop taking the pills and see if it still is? And she said, yes, yeah, do it. So I was off them for 2 weeks, and she said, then do that. I don't know if you've ever had to do it. You've probably never had high blood pressure, but she said, do a week taking your blood pressure in the morning and the
How
evening.
do you take your blood
Oh,
pressure?
when you go into the doctor's surgery or hospital, they put this thing around your
A
arm.
thing around, rub it around your arm, and then they
Yes,
kind of pump it
yes.
up.
Well,
And you do that yourself.
buy those. I mean, you don't have to do the kind of pumping bit. It's electronic. That's a sort
It's
of,
like they're pumping.
yeah, no, you don't have to sort of
Oh,
take
it's electronic now. It's
it.
all AI.
It's all well, it's all yes, digital. So it comes up on a little screen, and so I have done that, and my blood pressure off the medication was fine. So just like my osteopath,
Great.
my doctor has said, okay, stop taking it. Do another test in 6 weeks, and I'm going in to have a blood test in a couple of weeks to see if my cholesterol is normal again.
Yeah.
So I'm actually I really did think I was on a downward trajectory health wise because and I always thought, well, I'm not going to get high blood pressure. I'm fine. And
So
then,
since when did you think you were on a kind of downward
well, since I
trajectory?
was at my fattest, I would say, I'll be quite honest. I was find I realized I had high blood pressure. My cholesterol test came back high,
Yeah.
and I was finding it genuinely, an effort to walk the dogs, which I have to do every day. It wasn't a pleasure for me. I was aching, my hips and my back, and I wasn't breathless, but it was just like, I can't, I'm sure the dog
Yeah.
wouldn't walk any further. Let's go home, kind
Yeah.
of.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And now that has, and I really wasn't willing to admit it was because I was overweight. And now that I'm not overweight, I can see that, that was
It was that.
it was that. Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
I mean, you've never been overweight, and I think it's really hard to admit to that it's almost hard to believe that there's a connection between what you eat and being overweight. I know that sounds completely ridiculous, but it's hard to get that sort of, look, if I stop eating, I will lose weight kind of
Now, the strange thing,
mindset.
you didn't start eating differently or more in menopause, but you gained weight.
Yeah,
And then through uh, this injection, you have less of an appetite. So you eat less and you do lose weight. So
yeah.
I have I have the misunderstanding. I was very, very thin. As a child, I was very thin. Even as a student, I remember someone saying to me, "Oh, please don't run, Lisette. I can't watch it because I think you'll break your legs. You're so thin." And boyfriend said, "No, no, no, I can't possibly fall in love with you. You're too thin."
Oh,
But I still have this image in my mind that I am thin. So the other day, I gave some of my clothes to my niece, who dresses. We have the same taste or kind of dress code, and and one of them was I bought it because I thought I was still thin,
yeah.
and then when I wore it, it was like, how can I possibly wear this? Because I'm not thin anymore.
Well, you're hardly fat. I mean,
I'm not fat, but I've become a bit sturdy,
right.
especially here in the more bottomy region. It's just too big. Too big to be elegant. I mean, I
You
have like an
actually think
elegant
it's
gait. I'd still people say you're so elegant, but this is definitely bigger than I think it is.
yeah.
And when I try on clothes, I've only recently found out, and I'm 70, mind you, that I try them on and I look at the front and it looks okay. But when I look sideways, I go like, whoa,
I
whoa,
know. I
that's
know
way
that
too
one.
big. No, that isn't becoming, flattering at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
No.
my image is really wrong. Maybe about the image of not being old is also, not being thin anymore.
Yes, it's interesting, isn't it? I'm sure that when we try on clothes, we position ourselves in the mirror so we see the best angle. And yeah,
Yeah.
I
But
mean,
also I see myself in a younger
yeah,
version
yes, yes,
and in a
absolutely.
thinner version. So doing like, the side is really
Yes,
helpful not to
yes.
buy things that I will not wear because it's
No.
just,
No, well, I mean, I put on weight in my 40s and I kind of maintained that extra weight, which I didn't like, but it wasn't massive till I was kind of mid 60s probably, and I stayed the same size. And then suddenly, and I don't know whether it was to do with lockdown and COVID, but it seemed the last sort of 5 years, I've definitely I put on a lot of weight, and it just kind of seemed to get, and I'm sure I was just,
you did not make the connection between, what you eat and how you gain weight. So do you have a sweet tooth? Do you kind of nibble things in between or
bit. I don't. I think it was just everything, really. I mean, I think it was just snacking between meals that
yeah.
did it, and I just,
I
I,
think the snacking is
yeah. And it's this thing called food noise that suddenly develops that
yeah.
you're suddenly constantly wanting to eat something and wondering what's in the fridge and what next you can
Yeah.
get your hands on, and it's a really weird thing, and it's hard to say when that starts, when it becomes. I guess that what it
And is it there now?
no, not at all. I mean, what it means is it's become an addiction. And that's what Manjaro and I presume other, weight loss drugs, they just take it away just like that within days of starting. It's so,
Amazing.
so weird. But what's happened with me is almost the opposite to you because now I am slim. Also, it's very expensive. I've had to update my wardrobe. I've done it sort of once when I thought I'd lost quite a lot of weight. And now those clothes are too big for me because I've lost more weight. But
Wow.
what I'm enjoying is that I've sort of got back. I mean, I'm nowhere near as slim as I was, as a sort of teenager or a young woman, but I'm sort of more the same sort of shape. And what's funny is that the kind of fashion at the moment is like high waists, wide trousers, kind of just like it was in my late teenage years. So I kind of can dress as if for me I'm being a teenager. I bought myself. I admit to this. I feel a bit stupid, really. I bought myself a pair of denim dungarees because I
What
never
are dungarees? I don't know what dungarees are.
like sort of jeans, but they have a what we call a bib and
Oh,
I
okay.
kind of like
Oh, really?
yeah,
Did
kind of pseudo work clothes
Yeah, 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 yeah. Because you fit in them
just
and they
because I
look
just fit
good.
into them and they look okay and they make me feel young because that's what I would have bought I never did have a pair when I was young and I always wanted a pair. Now I've
Yeah.
got
And
so
now you can.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
But
yeah,
the thing with food, like yesterday when I came back from the hospital, I was snacking. I have these little chocolates with almonds inside that sell at a health food store. So they can't be very unhealthy because they're sold at a
Of
health food
course
store,
not.
right? And when I open a package and I put it in one of my lovely containers that I inherited from my grandmother, I could like, and then when I walk by, I kind of take usually two or three. And so there's the package. And then, oh, they're already gone. And so I decided, stop it. But then yesterday I came from the hospital and I felt a
Yeah,
little
you need.
sorry for myself. I was a little bit beaten, only, yeah. I mean, my confidence in my body was shaken, let's say it.
Yeah,
And I thought, I'm so sorry. And then Jos, and we can't go on a holiday. It's his holiday too. And so then I thought, well, now I can have a chocolate. So it's so strange how we soothe ourselves with sugar and fats and all the things that then
yeah, yeah, absolutely. It is strange. I mean, you probably have never heard of Maltesers. I don't. They're a kind of.
I think I know what they are. A kind of red package with
Yes, yes, and they're a
chocolatey things in
round
them.
ball of a chocolate
Yeah.
with crunchy stuff kind of inside. And I absolutely love them. I have always, since I was a child, they've been my favourite things. And my mum gave, well, actually, she gave my daughter this box of Maltesers a few months ago, in fact, because she thought that she was the one who she got confused and short. Anyway, so we brought them home and they've been in the fridge. I have not touched them. I haven't. I mean,
Oh, wow.
before I would have gone, oh, that box of Maltese, oh, it just needs to be eaten. And I'd have
Yeah,
taken
yeah,
it
yeah,
out
of
of the
course.
fridge
Yeah, yeah.
and I would have thought, oh,
Wow.
I'll just have a few. And within 20 minutes, I would have eaten the whole box.
Really?
Yes, absolutely. I would have eaten the whole.
Oh, so you really also would have binged, as they say.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't do that.
No, no. See,
Yeah,
being able to put three chocolates in a bowl and just eat those, that's normal,
yeah.
healthy.
Or take three chocolates out of the bowl.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
but
No, but wow, you would have eaten the whole thing, and now because of this thing,
yeah,
yeah,
I have
it's
a
not
feeling.
there, and you are nice and slim again. That is
Yes.
wonderful.
It is. It is. So yes, I think it should be available to everybody. And I did, yeah. Anyway, I think
Is it
it's
not available to everybody?
it's not. I mean, it is in theory, but it's not available free to everybody. It's hard to get on our National Health Service. I think you still have to be diabetic and to have other subsidiary ailments as well as just being fat, overweight. Perhaps is more polite way to put it.
Yeah.
But I pay for it, and to me it's been extremely worthwhile, and I can afford it, and I feel bad in some ways that that lots of people who would benefit from it aren't able
Yeah.
to afford it. So I think it really, I mean, I think it would be an incredible investment for any country actually to get
Make it
people.
available. I
Yeah,
have no idea how that is here. I have no idea.
no, no.
I know that my niece is also in some kind of program. She goes somewhere and there's a weight thing, kind of
Yes,
Weight Watcher. I don't know. It's
yeah,
not Weight
yeah, we have
Watchers, but
that
it's a
too. Wait,
kind of
yeah,
program where you also learn more about your habits
yes,
and how to give up those habits and what are actually habits that are really unhealthy for you,
yeah,
so that when you stop taking the thing, then you can then you've really adjusted also some of those,
yes.
broken some of those
But those sorts of
cravings.
programs, which again are kind of commercial, they really rely on people failing. I mean, you lose weight, you feel great,
Yeah, yeah, and then you come back again.
and you
Yeah,
come back again, and that's how they work. And actually, they
that's a horrible business model.
know it is, it is,
Yeah,
yeah. But anyway, so have we talked about our ailments, or
we've talked about our ailments and yeah, yeah, about here the term is kwetsbare ouderen, which translates as the vulnerable elderly.
yeah,
And I thought, oh, this is what it is, because you do kind of feel vulnerable when you can't completely
yeah,
trust your body and you don't know exactly where it's headed. And you don't know. If I have so many lovely things planned for the autumn, and I go like, I'm not sure whether I may have to cancel, and I
It
may not. It may
feels,
all, at some point heal and all will be well. But I have a retreat at the end of August, which I may have to cancel because of health reasons. And that, yeah, I mean, that, and it's just really, I want to stress, yeah, it's my eye, but it's still it's not life-threatening. It's a minor thing. So,
is it bad enough? I mean, you can still see.
yeah,
You're not. Is
yeah.
it because you have to take it? Be you have
But
to
it kind of
some sort
has
of
to be mended, it has to
yeah
heal and
right
become and firm up again. So the wallpaper again has to kind of be glued back onto the wall.
yeah
That's that's the
yeah
metaphor.
yes.
Yeah,
And your nose, that's treated, that's done, that's sorted.
that's treated, that's done, and at some point this little thing will drop off and
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's just kind of like it's intimations of mortality, isn't it?
That is intimations of mortality. Absolutely. And the thing you read about in the papers, how the elderly take up such a big part of, the health.
Yeah.
And I go like, yeah, yeah, now that's me. I've been to see, specialists every week in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, that adds to the national health bill.
Yeah.
And yeah,
And yet, what could we do otherwise? I mean, you're still a net contributor, I would say, to the economy. So it's probably all things considered worth everybody's while to pay
yeah,
for this.
to keep us going. And even if people are not, yeah,
Yeah.
still needs to be organized well.
Yes.
Yeah, so our precious, precious health,
Yeah.
which makes us feel a bit old, but in your case, you've actually come back from the downward slope onto an upward slope again.
Well, I don't know. Yes, I mean
Beautiful.
it's an upward slope from where I was,
Yeah.
but yes, who knows what else is going to go wrong?
Who knows what else is going to come? Yes. So it
Oh
is
dear.
like a carpe diem,
Yeah,
celebrate the day, which we do.
we do indeed. Should we stop on that note before we
Yes.
save any other issues? Yeah.
Thanks for being honest, Lucy.
And you, thank you for talking about your eye and your skin.
Yay.
It's there. It's real.
It's real. See you
Uh,
next week.
See you next week.